Hello, good evening, and welcome to Matchday at the Cop. These are my top 5 best of 2025 players. Starting off with number 5 would be Moses Caicedo. He is the talisman for Chelsea. Take him out of this Chelsea team, and I think maybe Maresca doesn't win that Club World Cup in June. Probably doesn't have his job all the way till Jan. And who knows what would have happened, because he's really been the linchpin, in that midfield. He's, I think, a future Chelsea captain for sure. I know Ricky James has done amazing, but Moses Caicedo is special. And the best compliment one can give him is that most of us, including rival supporters, club supporters, have forgotten his price tag, or remember his price tag but bite our lip and don't say a word about it because he's justified it. And remember, he came for a club record £115 million, and yet if one says that he was value for money, you can imagine just how good he's been. Remember, it's not an easy one to pick because I picked Moses Caicedo probably over somebody like Ryan Gravenberch, who was part of Liverpool's title-winning team, a midfield that consists of Alexis McAllister and Dominic Szoboszlai. Dominic Szoboszlai was another name that was very high on my list. But as good as Szoboszlai and Gravenberch have been in their respective roles, and however good their chemistry was in Liverpool winning the number 20, I just felt that Moses Caicedo, in spite of being in a midfield that probably wasn't as well-oiled and as consistent, at least in the first half of the season, as Liverpool's, I think Caicedo was still managing to shine for Chelsea. And I think for that reason, and for all the others I mentioned, Caicedo would firmly be my 5th best player for 2025. On number 4 comes a player that honestly could have been higher in another season. Could be higher probably if you ask me this 6 months from now. But as of now, as of Jan 6, 2026, he is my 4th best player of 2025, and that is Bukayo Saka. Now, I could wax lyrical about Bukayo Saka, and most Arsenal fans would be completely in agreement. There would be no argument, I'm sure, for many rival supporters as well, because he's just had the most amazing numbers. Just have a look at them. The goals, the assists for 2025, right there. They speak for themselves. I don't need to mention just how secure Arsenal have been on that right-hand flank because of him. And truly, he feels like the heir, and maybe some might say he already is, the present equivalent of Mohamed Salah. Well, his numbers have been right up there. Of course, Salah's numbers have been amazing as well, in spite of a little blip. But Saka has been so very consistent. I can remember so many games in 2025, but probably because of the recency bias, I remember the game against Wolves. The game was supposed to be a clean kind of a sweep for Arsenal, but it wasn't. And they were under such pressure because Wolves scored late. But Saka gets the first goal from a corner, which goes in. It's a swirling, diabolical cross, so difficult for the goalkeeper. I know he should save it, but it's easier said than done. And then in that 94th, 93rd minute, the ball that he put in for Gabriel Jesus, which of course went off the defender, but the kind of pressure, the kind of curl that there was on it, the defender had no choice but to, attempt to clear it, and unfortunately went into his own goal. And again, Saka turned provider. And that one game, I think, just kind of epitomizes exactly what I want to say about this player. He's a provider, he's a goal scorer. He's a player that makes Arsenal tick. And every time there's a moment or there's a phase in the game when you feel, okay, what's going to happen, because Arsenal haven't been the most free-flowing goal-scoring team, probably in 2025. But they have managed to get the job done. They have managed to get the goals, and it's been Bukayo Saka that they have to thank for. So for that, who knows how the season is going to end? Maybe he might end up as a Premier League champion. And I think if he does, he truly deserves it, because I think Bukayo Saka is too good a player to finish his career without a Premier League title. And he truly, for his numbers consistently over the last couple of years, deserves a mention and could well be higher up on this list this time next year. My number 3 is a player that I think has just lit up the Premier League with his aggressive style of play, with his complete dominance over teams. Erling Haaland is not just a goal scorer, he's not just a poacher, he's Mr. Man City. Yeah, if I have to look at the goals he scored in 2025, and if I were to tell you that there were actually phases this year when people felt that, okay, maybe he's dropped off, this is not his usual level. And then look at the numbers. Incredible. Yes, that those are the standards that Erling Haaland sets at Manchester City, that even a little less than a goal per game seems, no, something is wrong. These are not normal numbers. These are not Henry, Suarez numbers. These are Ronaldo, Messi, even better than that numbers. What if I were to tell you he scored more goals at his age than Ronaldo and Messi had at theirs? That is ridiculous. I don't need to say much more than that. He's probably being quoted by the biggest clubs, including Madrid and Barcelona, but he is at one of the biggest clubs in the world in Manchester City, and he's managed by probably the greatest manager in the world right now, Pep Guardiola. And with his goals, he's picked Man City up from the slump last season, and they have gone on to a bit of a roll. The second this season, they've had a couple of draws recently in the festive fixtures, but still, they are well in the title race, and Erling Haaland is a huge reason for it. Now, second on this list is a player that just had to be there, right? Many would argue with me, because this is a Liverpool first podcast, that how dare you not make him your first? When I speak about the first, you will understand why. But Mohamed Salah has had an incredibly eventful 2025. Go back to that post on X that he had put after a disappointing end of the 23-24 season. He told the fans that we will be back. Remember, that is the season that Jurgen Klopp left Liverpool after 9 years. Remember, that was a time when he ended a season really looking a shadow of his former glorious self. And when I was even reading that tweet, I thought, come on, Salah, would you really be able to? He answered that. He answered that with number 20. He did it. And he did it with the most goals. He did it with the most assists. Now, I know he hasn't made it to the top 2 in the Ballon d'Or. He hasn't made it at all somehow in the top 2 or 3 in the FIFA's best. But he really does deserve to, doesn't he? I really do think that sometimes, because of the fact that he doesn't play for a fantastic European country and doesn't get to add those numbers with those many TRPs coming in from European countries, he doesn't get his due. I think there's a lot of truth in that, because if numbers are to be gone by, then nobody can deny that Mohamed Salah is a modern day legend. And I know that word is thrown around a lot, legendary this and legendary that. Mohamed Salah is a legend. I saw the response from various clubs and their fans on X and on Reddit when Carragher went after him recently, when he had that a bit of a outburst against the management. Look at the way the love poured in. That was the real litmus test, and you could see that there's genuine respect for Salah. Salah's numbers this season, I can keep talking about it. Like I said, he was on top of the 24-25 goal scorers list. He was on top of the assist list. He was just everywhere. 25-26 season has been a bit rough considering his lofty standards. He hasn't been there exactly where he should be. But remember this, Mohamed Salah is always proving his naysayers wrong. He has something very much in common with other legends like Henry and Ronaldo. He always comes back. And there's still 4 months to go and about 18 games left in the Premier League. Watch out. Who knows? We'll be watching back this in May and we're having a little smile on our faces, because he could probably be in the top 3 or 4 of the goal scorers or the assist list. And the fact that we can say that even though he's not there and thereabouts right now, even though he's away on AFCON, scoring goals for Egypt and taking them into the knockouts, the fact that we can say that just goes to show that he has earned this. And for his number 20, for his goals, for his assists, for his charisma, Mohamed Salah, for me, was the second best player of 2025. Now, the best player in the Premier League, according to me, in 2025 was Declan Rice. Any arguments? I don't think so. I don't think there can be any arguments. Because what do I say about Declan Rice? What can anyone say about Declan Rice? He was signed from West Ham for over £100 million. And when that happened, nobody really could have thought that he could go on to become this kind of a player. Now imagine a player is bought for more than 100 million, and that was before the spate of 100 million midfielders that were signed. He was one of the first to be signed. And after that, he has gone on to do what we expected from an Enzo Fernandez, what we expected maybe from a Florian Wirtz. He has gone on to deliver that. He has done it season after season over the last 2.5 seasons. He's just been, we talk about a transition, we talk about coming to a big club, we talk about the pressure. He had just won West Ham's first ever trophy in more than 50, 60 years. And then he comes to Arsenal, a club that has been waiting and wanting its midfield maestro from the days of Vieira and from the days of Bergkamp. And he just comes in and he just takes it in his stride like a complete champ. 2025 was a year in which Declan Rice was scoring free kicks for fun against Madrid on Champions League nights. It was a year when Declan Rice, away in games on cold winter nights, was getting winners or equalizers. Declan Rice is the guy who you see right at the back, defending, putting in that last ditch effort. I can think of a game, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I don't remember exactly against whom, because there have been a rush of games. But there was a moment when I think it was Brighton, where a player took a shot and was going straight, and there was no way Raya could have saved it because Raya was blindsided. And in comes Declan Rice's block, I think on the gut, and he was really gutted. He was on the floor after that. And I'm thinking to myself, what does this guy not do? He takes free kicks. The other day, Arteta said that now he's going to try taking throw-ins because there's nothing Declan Rice can't do. And it's one of those times when a manager says something about a player and you think, oh, come on, of course he's going to say that. But when you see somebody say that about Declan Rice, there's not a lot you can argue about that. Declan Rice is undoubtedly the best midfielder in the Premier League. He's arguably, according to me, the most important player in the Premier League, because the way to gauge that is remove Declan Rice from this Arsenal team. And yes, in spite of the fact that they have an array of players, and I, by the way, haven't mentioned Gabriel and Saliba in the top 5, and they probably would be in my top 10 100%. But the fact that I don't mention them, and the fact that I mentioned Rice and I mentioned Saka, is for this one particular reason, that I feel, yes, Gabriel would probably be a big miss. But I think without Rice or Saka, Arsenal are just not the same, and more Rice than Saka. And that is in spite of the fact that Saka is probably their biggest outlet for goals, their biggest outlet for assists. But still, I feel remove Rice from those games, and it somehow feels that, the kind of crumbling that was happening with Arsenal maybe a year and a half ago or 2 years ago would probably be happening even now. The fact that it doesn't happen anymore is because of Declan Rice. And for that, and for the fact that he's just lit up the Premier League with all the different kind of facets to his game: tackling, defending, attacking, taking the corners sometimes, taking a shot from 20 yards out, taking it on his chest. For all of that and much more, Declan Rice, for me, at Matchday at the Cop, was indeed the best player of 2025.